Hey everybody, my name is Onepeg, and this is Little Things, Episode 6. Anyone that has played Tarkov for more than a few minutes has had a leg either broken or blackened by a scav or player, and been forced to either limp along or use a painkiller in order to regain some amount of movement speed. We all know that sprinting when a leg is either broken or blackened means that every step taken on that limb causes radiating pain and damage to your character's remaining health, but there are some other interesting things. Crouching and slowing your walking speed to a minimum reduces your character's footstep noises to levels that are barely audible. This allows you to sneak and potentially creep up on your target while they remain unaware of your presence. However, if one or both of your legs are broken or blackened, even with a painkiller running, if you attempt to sneak, your character does not reduce their walking sounds when sneaking. Or do they? In first-person view, you can clearly hear that your character is making rather loud stepping sounds. But if we switch to a third-person's perspective, you'll notice that sneaking doesn't actually make any audible third-party noise.
All the way down, yeah.
It has actually been like this for quite some time, but remains something that many people playing this game are unaware of. It seems a bit obvious that this is a bug, but to my knowledge, BSG hasn't said whether the broken leg audio when sneaking is supposed to remain quiet or be loud. In this case, at least for now, it's a nice thing to be aware of if you're worried about being heard.
Slow walk or full?
Slow, just slow. Tarkov is notorious for the vast majority of sounds that you make to be overheard by others at some amount of distance. This distance is determined by a few different factors, one of which is how quickly you turn your character. Most people already know that if you're standing still and if you turn your character abruptly, the rate that you shift your character's position determines how loudly you make this shuffling noise. Which is slightly different depending on which type of surface you're standing on at the time. But this only seems to happen if you're standing completely still. If you have any kind of motion forward, backward, or laterally while turning your PMC at this same abrupt rate will not make any shuffling noises at all. If you need to make an abrupt turn, make sure to keep some directional motion while turning so you don't make these shuffling sounds. Another interesting audio bug is the jumping and falling sounds. When jumping, regardless of height, be it at the same level, to a level lower, or to a level higher than where you originally began, the jumping and landing sounds end up playing. However, if you walk off a higher elevated platform to a platform or the ground below, when you land, while you might hear your PMC land, yell out, and possibly even the sound of bones breaking, there is currently not any sound overheard by any third party when you hit the ground.
So just walk off now?
Yeah, just walk off. Yeah, all right, so hop back up and then jump. Yeah, all right. This is done without regard for height. This is obviously unintended, but it still exists. So when you're moving around Tarkov, especially in areas where there are holes in ceilings or ledges that people can run off of and drop down next to you, like the shoreline resort balconies, the hole between floors 2 and 3 in the night building on reserve, or the hole in the server room floor on labs, for instance, be aware that they won't make a sound when they land unless they jumped before they landed next to you. Tarkov's soundscape is one full of nuance, which in turn includes some directional cues. Some of this audio is buggy, and sometimes results can be falsely positive or negative, but there are some things to look out for. For a more in-depth look at audio localization, I suggest checking out a video that was done by Veritas on this subject. But for the purpose of this little thing, I want to stick to more of the application side of sound localization. And I'll make sure that I include a link in the description for all of you that would like to check that out. On every map, in just about every building, there are audible, what I call landmarks, that help with locating where someone is relative to your position. And I don't mean just the sound of footsteps in one ear or the other. Some of the most easily noticed are things like the broken tile sound in the locker room of the second floor of the factory office area. Or the wood sound from the floor at the bottom of the metal staircase below the factory bridge. Or how almost all of the ramps leading into the larger buildings of Reserve are made of wood. The next natural progression in this would be becoming accustomed to not only the localized sounds themselves and these different trigger points, but also the ordering of these sounds when someone is moving through these areas. Take, for example, the east side and east side rear entrances to the North Pawn Building. And yes, I realize that I'm calling the pawn building that is technically in the south of the map the North Pawn Building because of how the map is oriented. Let's just say that the radar tower is north for now. Okay? We'll get a compass at some point. Let's move on. Both of these entrances have wooden ramps, so that's not really enough just on direction alone to understand where someone is. And they're rather close to each other, so there needs to be some other kind of differentiator. On the east side entrance to the building, there is a considerable amount of broken glass. So, if you hear broken glass, jumping sound to wood ramp to broken glass, you know that that's the side entrance. This rear ramp by the bathroom doesn't have any broken glass. That's simply the sound of gravel, and then the wooden ramp, and then this hard floor kind of surface sound. Now, there are many, many, many other things that have to do with the nuances of localization of sound in Tarkov. And obviously, all of this is going to come with played experience and likely a situation where someone got the drop on you, if only to make sure that you never forget what that sound meant or that location was ever again. Like, he... Hi. How are you? Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Fantastic. Oh, level 3. This guy's level 3. This guy's level 6. But let this suffice as a starting point for all of you so that you can maybe pay some closer attention to what it is that you hear. Lastly, in regard to directional audio, currently Tarkov muffles sounds that are above you, unless you're outside, but does not currently have any tried and true methods for determining audio coming from below you. In addition, there are certain rooms in the game where this doesn't seem to work very well. Certain floors located at a split level, like the server room and labs located between floors 1 and 2 of the medical wing, currently have some audio artifacting issues with whether or not to muffle the sounds coming from the second floor. What could sound like someone walking on the first floor, same as you, or possibly even the basement 1 level lower than you, because the floors below have no audio modification. You could be looking or listening as a player or PMC bot above you paths over and shoots you from this second level doorway. Stairwells in this game are also notorious for poor sound localization transmission. So, in these areas especially, try to keep your eyes moving at all times, as your ears could be playing tricks on you. This is obviously only scratching the surface for what Tarkov has to offer in its soundscape, and it's far from finished. In fact, in the coming months, we're going to have a completely new audio engine in that of Steam Audio. So, this entire set of soundscape tips could become completely outdated in just a few months. But for now, hopefully, this helps empower some of you a little bit more in what to look for and what to listen for when out there in your raids. At any rate, as always, I want to say thank you guys very much for lending me your eyeballs and spending a few moments of your day with me. My name is Onepeg. May your stomach stay unblackened, your insurance always return to you, and the next mark room you visit have a red key card. Thanks.